This is Dan Putnam, and I'm extremely excited about the information we're about to share with you over about the next 10 or 15 minutes. So as a lot of people know, my background, I've been extremely passionate about water, not just any water, about what the water does in the human body, why it's so important. If you really think about it, in order to sustain life, there's three main things that you need: sunlight, water, and oxygen. And when I heard about a product, basically about 17 or 18 years ago, it really changed on how I thought about water. Before that, I didn't really know much about water. I thought maybe, tap water, distilled water, spring water, bottled water. What's the difference? Most people would kind of in their mind think that a lot of the bottled water is just, they're just filling it from a tap. Nothing that different about it, just a great way to sell expensive water. But what I really started to look at is there's different things that are important about water, and not all water is created equally. So the mineral content, the pH value, the structure itself of the water, there's different things that can happen that turn water into a powerhouse nutritional beverage that can definitely help slow down the aging process, help combat disease and all kinds of things. And who would think that just the water you're drinking could make that big of a difference? And so we have a special guest here. This is somebody that I've looked up to for, I think I heard his audio maybe 15, 16 years ago, could have been a little bit longer. One of the most powerful audios I've ever done, and it was one of the first things I've ever heard, that really changed the way that I thought about water. And the audio he did, I believe, was called Acidosis, and it was kind of talking about his own story, a story of family members, I believe his mom, and how they used certain types of water and things to help with some pretty severe health issues. And so the first time I heard that, I thought, man, I'd really love to work with Fred. I probably one of the most exciting times for me was about a year ago, last October, November, that time frame when I actually found a source to bring this Okinawan coral calcium to Bepic, and we launched our product called Hydrate in November of 2019. I was super excited because it's a product that I've loved for decades. And unfortunately, with COVID and a couple other issues, manufacturing in Japan, the place that we was getting it was very few. There's only one or two companies in the world that have the licensing to mine Okinawan coral. And so during COVID, they shut down the manufacturing. They're still not back up and going. And so I started to think, man, I really need to figure something out. And so I reached out to Fred and started telling him about the issue that we're having and the problem. And I started talking to him off and on about a year ago, and just about different things, different technologies, different things that he's seen and using. And he introduced me to the product that now we have as our new Hydrate. And you know what? I'm super excited to bring this on the market, to work with Fred to help in the education process and really have him explain to you what this actually is, why it's so important, and why every single person that love, and care about should be putting this in all the water that they're drinking. And so I'm going to talk just really briefly on dosage. It's really simple. So the bottle comes in 4-ounce liquid. So there's no powders that you have to wait to dissolve or anything like that. It's super, super easy to use. The dosage works out about perfectly for 1 capful to go into 1 gallon of water. What I personally recommend, because that's the easiest way to dose the product, is that you fill a gallon and then you fill your water bottles from that gallon. Also, I know that that's not always something that people can do. So you can get a dropper. We're actually working with Fred on sourcing these because it does need to be a plastic dropper. You can't use a glass dropper in this product. But 1 dropper full is about what you would put in a full bottle of water. And I'll have Fred talk a little bit more on the dosaging and why you may want to start off a little bit slower. And then as your body gets used to the product, add a little bit more. There's not really a fragrance or a taste to the product. It's still going to taste like water. But I want to assure you, this is not water. This isn't something that you want to drink. You don't want to take it straight. You do want to follow the dosage requirement, because the detoxifying properties in this product are very powerful, very strong. And if you do that too fast, it could become a little bit uncomfortable. So without any further information, first I want to thank you, Fred, for taking the time to speak with us today. Again, as we've discussed, you're somebody that I've looked up to for decades. The information that you have is, I mean, almost second to none. And we were discussing just before we were starting this Zoom, one of the difficult things, it's difficult for me also to have all this information in my mind and try and condense that down to, 10 minutes or so. And so I know Fred could talk on this one product for an entire 2 or 3 day seminar with all the knowledge that he has in the product and water and different things that we can do for our health. And so Fred, without any more hesitation or delay, I want to bring you on and again, thank you for taking the time with us today.
Well, thank you, Dan. I appreciate the introduction. And yes, we've known each other for a long time. I've respected you and known about you and what you're capable of on the business side of it. For me, it's always been about the products. I've always wanted to just help people. Excuse me, you may be asking yourself, those of you who are listening to this video, that you've probably not heard of me before, and why should you listen to me? Well, as Dan said, you may not know my name, but if you've heard of coral calcium, then you know my work. I did something remarkable in 1995 after I'd already been working with the coral minerals for several months and introduced the coral minerals to North America. Many have tried to take credit for it, but as Dan will tell you, nobody was importing it before me. A brief history about myself, which is the stimulus for what I've been doing for the last 50 years. It seems crazy to say 50 years, but it's been that long. I had a lot of health problems growing up. I was born with a bad heart. I had severe asthma, severe allergies, a weak immune system. I was involved in an experiment where I had an enlarged thymus gland, and they radiated me, of all things. And that really knocked out my immune system, what was left of it. I had polio when I was 8 years old, on and on and on. When I got into college, I was taking 2 shots in each arm twice a week. And after a year of no results, I had enough. And this is what started my journey of research for the past 50 years into health and nutrition, and how do you restore health if you've lost it? What causes people to lose their health? And I've been teaching people how to be healthy for the past 35 plus years. I've worked as a nutritionist in a couple of medical clinics. And as Dan mentioned, I even helped my mother, fortunately, to overcome cancer when the Mayo Clinic said there was nothing that could be done for her. So I later on, I'm just giving you a brief summary here. As Dan said, I could talk for 2 or 3 days, but I later started formulating nutritional products. And just as Dan pointed out in his life, I learned something that changed forever my view of what it takes to be healthy. And that is, in a nutshell, drinking the right amount of the right kind of water is the foundation of health, period. That will never change. Nothing will ever be discovered in a laboratory. No scientist is ever going to come up with an herbal formulation that is going to replace your need for water. It's just not going to happen. But you need to not only drink water, but you need to drink the right kind of water. So it's the right amount of the right kind of water. What I've learned is that our bodies are alkaline. We were designed to be alkaline, but guess what? Most of what we eat and drink is on the acidic side. So how can you maintain this optimal alkaline level in your body if you're putting things in your body that are acidic? But also we have to understand that the water has to be structured at a molecular level. Hydrate is a liquid that when added to your drinking water, not only raises the pH instantly and permanently, there's no waiting. Everything happens as soon as you shake it up. It also restructures the water molecules like no other product I've ever seen. And I've looked at a lot of products. You see, water is not just a bunch of H2O molecules floating around in a liquid form. Those molecules have a tendency to cluster together like a bunch of grapes, and this makes it difficult for them to enter the cells. So try to imagine when you're drinking water, no matter how pure it is, if the molecules are clustered, and this is the case with all water, when you have this water cluster come to the cell, many times it's too large to come into the cell. So you drink water, but you're not really getting hydrated at a cellular level. As Dan mentioned, my involvement with the coral and his involvement also, it's a phenomenal product. And when you add it to water, it helps to break up these clusters, but it only does it in the sense of cutting them in half. What I'm excited about with hydrate is it causes the molecules to form strands. It breaks up these clusters. It still allows them to attach to each other, but because of certain properties of the product, it forces them to form strands. In other words, they can attach to each other, but they are forced to do it in a straight line, something that would resemble a train with one molecule attached to another and another and another, so on. So that means they can enter the cells more easily, actually one molecule at a time. This is the highest level of hydration, which allows the cells to not only become hydrated, but they can also release stored up toxins and waste. So I won't get into too much detail, but I just have to tell you something shocking. Your body was not designed to store toxins, chemicals, or any other kind of cellular waste. It was supposed to be releasing it every day. But if you're not drinking the right amount of the right kind of water, that can't happen. In other words, your body isn't designed to store all of these chemicals and toxins, but it's forced to because of not getting the right amount of the right kind of water. So hydrate is so powerful, as Dan mentioned. You can't start out at full strength, or you may experience symptoms of cleansing. You have to start slowly and increase gradually over a 2-week period. Now, when was the last time you heard that about a product? You can't take this full strength starting out. That speaks volumes to me about how powerful a product is. Well, after 22 years of drinking water with coral minerals exclusively, I switched to the hydrate and didn't follow the gradual increase instructions because I thought I've already been drinking high quality water for so many years, I couldn't possibly have any stored up toxins. Well, guess what? I was shocked that I had symptoms of cleansing. Even I had to go back and do the gradual increase. So that was a big surprise. Well, hydrate also helps you to absorb nutrients and other supplements better than with ordinary clustered water. This is a very important thing. Try to imagine that when you put the hydrate in the water, it becomes a carrier of anything that it comes in contact with. So ordinarily, when you take your supplements or other kind of health products, Dan has a lot of great health products, you get a good amount of absorption, but you don't get the maximum amount of absorption. And it's not the fault of the product, it's the fault of the water that you're mixing with the product when you're swallowing it. So you have to realize that in order to take your health to the next level, you need to be able to not only get rid of the toxins that your cells have stored up, but you need to have a carrier that can get the nutrients and supplements, whatever it is you're eating or taking in the way of supplementation. You need to get that into the cells. Otherwise, it's just flushing right through you. So this is a very exciting aspect of the product above the fact that it makes your water more alkaline and structures the water for higher absorption. But it has one other thing that I haven't talked about much in the past about one of the aspects of water, and that is the hydrate has an abundance of the element carbon, and it's in a tetravalent form, which is kind of complicated, but it just means 4 atoms of carbon combined. And you should be aware how important this is because carbon is at the foundation of all life on our planet. So just to summarize, hydrate may help support, and we say may help support because there are limitations as to what we can say. I wish I could tell you everything that I've experienced and others have experienced trying out this product Hydrate, but I can't. So I'm going to just put it in the context of may help support. Of course, we've already talked about the alkaline pH. We've talked about hydration, but it also helps support digestion. Again, how can you get healthy if you're eating properly, but you're not getting good digestion, which means that you're not getting good absorption of the things that you're eating? It helps with elimination. I don't know how many times I've talked to people who had problems with elimination. It's something we all do. We don't like to talk about it, but it's something that you have to have in order to be healthy. I've talked about detoxification, but it also, the Hydrate also helps with free radical scavenging. So you hear about products that fight free radicals, but the Hydrate is a completely different product in terms of how it accomplishes free radical scavenging. So you imagine your body being about 70% water, your blood being 80, is in cases as much as 90% just water. Can you imagine if all that water had the ability to scavenge free radicals? And as a conclusion, you have to have the foundation of health. You have to have the right amount of the right kind of water. I've been talking with people for years trying to help them with their health. And when I ask them about their water, it's like looking at a deer in the headlights. They have this look like, well, what's the big deal with water? But as soon as people start understanding that water is the most important thing that they can do besides breathing, drinking water is that foundation. And as I said, it's never going to change. But when people start to really get a handle on that, there's a transformation that takes place. So we really need to be focused on being healthy, but we need to be focused also on the foundation. And as I said, that is never going to change. It's always going to be drinking the right amount of the right kind of water.
Awesome, Fred. I really appreciate it. And every time I listen to you, it just makes me think that, man, we need to get this word out to everybody that we know. It just changes everything that you're doing. I mean, the food that you're eating, the toxins, and the issue that we run into is even when we're trying to do everything as perfectly as we can, we still don't have control of the environment that we live in. As you mentioned, the foods and the drinks that we're eating are typically acidic, but our body's acidic by nature. The way that it digests, the way that our muscles build up lactic acid, the way that stress, the body deals with stress and stuff like that. So the issues that you run into, if you're not actively doing something to combat that acid, it's just kind of a matter of time. And we didn't go into it on this. I'll just mention it super briefly that it has been proven the disease can only survive in an acidic environment. Disease cannot survive in an alkaline environment. And so people in 2020, people are dying of dehydration. There's no way that should be possible, and they're drinking water. So, and what I'm talking about here specifically is athletes, high school athletes, junior high athletes, even college and professional athletes within the last 5 years have died from dehydration in one practice, and they drank water. So what Fred's saying is 100% true. Just drinking water is not necessarily hydrating the body, especially if you have some other factors that the body's dealing with, like exhaustion, heat, mineral depletion, all of the things that are happening when you're working hard outside. And so I just want to, again, thank you for your time. We're super, super excited about bringing this product to the market, working with you, and really spreading the word across the world. So with that, Fred, again, I really appreciate your time. I thank you for all the hard work and dedication. I mean, think about that, folks. He's talking about 50 years of doing his own research and trying to figure out what he can do for himself. And then once he helped himself with and he could go into it, a lot of the health conditions that Fred was dealing with are debilitating. I mean, miserable. And so he's extremely, you know, focused on figuring out what he can do when the doctors are just kind of guessing and as he said, experimenting. And so once he figured that out, he thought, well, man, I wonder if this works for other people. And he's really been on a mission for the you know, for decades of getting this knowledge that he's learned himself and getting it to other people. And we're on a mission with Bepic for one main thing. If we're going to break it down to what is our #1 goal with our product line, our #1 goal is to simply add more life to people's years. I feel that the doctors are focused on adding more years to your life, meaning you're living longer. But a lot of that, so many people the last 5, 10, 15, 20 years is just miserable because the doctors haven't really focused on adding life to your years, meaning if I pass away at 85 years old, I want to be capable, even if I didn't do it that morning, I want to be capable of going golfing, going to the gym, going fishing, doing whatever it is, going hiking, whatever it is that I love to do. I want to be capable of doing that on my last day here on earth. And that's what our goal is with our company. That's what our goal is with our products, is to not just have people live longer, is to have them have more life in those years so that they can actually function and do the things that they want to do, pick up their grandkids, play with their grandkids, play with their great grandkids, et cetera, et cetera. So again, Fred, I think this is a huge addition to our product line because no matter what we create, no matter how incredible the ingredients on the label are, if it's not getting absorbed into the body or if the body has too many other toxins into it, it's going to be focused on that life or death situation, that maintaining the alkalinity of the blood. That's what your body's focused on all day long, every day, because if that changes even a little bit, you're done. That's fatal. And so it's also going to be focusing on removing these toxins. It's not really concerned about this new ingredient that you just swallowed because it's an overdrive trying to take care of this mess that's already going on. And so when we can actually start to clear that out, when we can take these nutrients and deliver them perfectly right into the cells of the body, it's life-changing. So again, Fred, we really appreciate it. And we're excited about this product. So again, thanks again. And we'll be talking to you soon.
Thank you, Dan. It's going to be exciting what we see coming in the future. And just to focus on what you just said, imagine people who have already been using your other products. They start now taking those products with hydrate in their water, and it's going to be a noticeable difference. I believe people are going to be excited once they get involved.
For sure. Thanks, Fred.
Thank you, Dan.